of Francesco Albanese and common pitfalls in student imitation. As a vocal instructor with many years of teaching experience, I have always paid close attention to the vocal production methods of various tenors. Recently, I conducted an in-depth study of Francesco Albanese's vocal technique. In light of this, and based on observations of my students' attempts to imitate him, I have arrived at a number of thoughts and reflections. Here, I would like to share my understanding of his vocal characteristics, the issues that arose during student imitation, and the pedagogical adjustments I believe should be made. Analysis of Francesco Albanese's vocal characteristics. 1. Low vocal placement. Focused below the larynx. In my view, Albanese anchors his vocal effort just below the larynx, in the upper chest area near the lower sternum. This placement gives his sound a grounded and resonant quality. He is particularly effective in performing lyrical, slow-tempo, emotionally rich repertoire, as his vocal placement allows for stability and a natural flow of emotion. 2. Limited breath support compared to other tenors. Compared to singers like Corelli or Martinelli, who rely heavily on diaphragmatic and abdominal coordination, Albanese seems less dependent on an integrated breath support system. Instead, he draws support more from the upper chest area. This results in a beautiful, tender tone, though slightly more reserved in high or sustained passages. He is not a dramatic or explosive singer, but rather a refined, elegant tenor, di grazia. I particularly admire his control over oral resonance, a slightly lifted upper palate, an open soft palate, and a clean, smooth tone resonating within the oral cavity. He does not overly rely on nasal or mask resonance, lending his singing a classical, unadorned lyricism. 4. Balanced glottal closure. Technically, his glottal closure is neither overly tight nor too loose. Unlike Del Monaco, whose phonation can be extremely forceful, or Gigli, who leans heavily on head resonance, Albanese achieves a middle ground. This balance gives his voice a warm, approachable presence while preserving tonal focus. Issues observed in my student Giovanni Scalmana's imitation. Recently, my student Giovanni Scalmana attempted to imitate Albanese. However, I quickly noticed that his imitation focused only on surface-level tone, rather than the underlying technique. Here are the key issues I observed. 1. Vocal placement too high, concentrated in the throat and mask area. Scalmana's tone production occurs in the area just beneath the soft palate and within the nasal oropharyngeal junction, leading to a strained, pushed sensation. His sound became thin and fatigued, clearly lacking proper support. This reflects a common misconception, mistaking tenderness for weakness and the mask for genuine resonance. 2. Excessive throat tension. His larynx was visibly tight, and in the upper middle range his voice would jam rather than flow freely. He was clearly pushing the sound out of his throat rather than allowing it to float, a counterproductive and vocally harmful habit. 3. Shallow breathing and lack of support. His inhalation was too shallow, limited to the upper chest. The diaphragm was barely engaged, and abdominal and lateral expansion were absent. Without the sensation of breath rising from the lower abdomen and supporting the vocal fold vibration, his tone relied solely on throat pressure, which naturally led to vocal fatigue. Why imitating Albanese often goes astray. This is a point I particularly want to emphasize. Albanese's voice sounds tender and subtle, as if effortlessly beautiful. But I believe this is only possible because of his solid diaphragmatic control, clear chest resonance anchoring, and precise airflow regulation. When students merely imitate the sound by ear without understanding the physiological mechanisms and technical principles behind it, they are prone to the following mistakes. Placing the sound in the pharynx or nasal area, creating a false mask. Resonance becoming unstable due to lack of breath support, mistaking gentleness for weakness. My pedagogical corrections and adjustments. 1. Completely restructure breathing, from breathing up to sinking down. I advise Scalmana to focus on abdominal and lower back expansion during inhalation, directing the breath downward toward the pelvis rather than lifting the chest. After inhaling, I ask him to pause for 1 second before phonation, avoiding a rushed onset. 2. Train chest resonance and the sensation of anchoring down. I guide him through humming exercises, to feel vibrations in the upper sternum. Gradually, we transition to open vowels A while maintaining the same resonance area. The goal is to build a unified support system from the abdomen to the chest. 3. Dismantle the illusion of the mask and reconnect with authentic resonance. I emphasize that true mask resonance is not pushed upward, but the natural result of breath and vocal fold coordination. I use closed mouth exercises, ooh, to help him experience the sound floating up from the chest rather than drilling up into the head. 4. Improve legato and phrase continuity. I employ classic vocalises such as Caromeo Ben and Seben Crudella to help him develop fluid phrasing and continuous breath flow. This reinforces musical line, breath efficiency, and emotional delivery. I would say to Skalmana, you're imitating the outer shape of his voice, but you've missed the process by which he supports and releases that voice through lowered breath and natural ascent. We must first learn how to support the breath and tone. Only then can we approach the sound itself. This is a real and typical case I've encountered in my teaching. I hope students can understand. True vocal technique is not something one hears. It is something one builds through conscious engagement of the body and breath. Though Francesco Albanese's voice may sound gentle, it is the result of meticulous control. Imitation must be grounded in proper breath support and anchoring, otherwise it will only backfire.